They didn't heed her warning, so she ensured they would never attempt it again. Tasha Williams had toiled diligently for everything she possessed. At 42 years old, she took pride in her home, a stunning two-story residence in Chandler, Arizona, complete with a backyard that served as her sanctuary. Palm trees framed the fence, and at the heart of it all was her pride and joy, a crystal-clear, impeccably maintained swimming pool. She wasn't one to boast, but she had every reason to feel proud. She purchased the house independently, without any handouts or shortcuts, just years of hard work, saving, and making wise decisions. Her neighborhood was primarily comprised of families, a blend of longtime residents and newcomers. Some neighbors were friendly, while others preferred to keep to themselves. Tasha didn't mind either way. She wasn't seeking to be the community darling. She simply wanted to live in tranquility. However, that peace was short-lived. The first incident occurred one Saturday afternoon when she returned home from running errands. She noticed wet footprints leading from her backyard gate to the sidewalk. At first, she thought it might have been the landscaper or a utility worker, but then she spotted it, a dripping wet towel carelessly tossed over her fence. She checked the pool. The water level was lower, her pool float was displaced, and a half-empty soda can rested on her lounge chair. Someone had invaded her backyard. Taking a deep breath, she tried to give people the benefit of the doubt. Perhaps it was an innocent mistake, or maybe a child had jumped the fence and panicked when caught. But when she inquired around the neighborhood, she received nothing but casual shrugs from her neighbors. "Oh, it's probably just one of the kids," one woman chuckled. "You know how they are." Another neighbor, a man in his 60s, barely looked up from his car as he remarked, "They're just having fun." "You've got a nice pool, Miss Williams." The way he said it unsettled her, but she didn't press the issue. Instead, she tightened the lock on her gate and hoped it wouldn't happen again. But it did. A week later, she was sitting in her living room when she heard splashing. Initially, she thought perhaps she had forgotten to turn off the pool filter, but then she heard laughter. She walked to the back door and peeked outside. There, in her pool, was a teenage boy casually swimming as if he owned the place. A girl, likely his sister, sat at the edge, dipping her feet in the water. Tasha flung the door open. "Excuse me." The kids jerked up, eyes wide. The boy scrambled out of the water like a caught fish. I thought," he stammered, "we didn't think you'd mind." "You didn't think to ask?" Tasha snapped. "Who even are you?" The girl mumbled something about living 2 houses down before they bolted through the gate. Tasha stood there, dripping towel in hand, heart racing. She wanted to let it go, but then came the excuses. The next day, she confronted the kids' parents, expecting an apology. Instead, she found herself in an argument. "Oh, come on," the mother scoffed. "They're just kids. It's hot, what's the big deal?" Tasha stared at her, stunned. "The big deal," she said slowly, "is that this is my property, my home, my pool, and I don't recall sending out invitations." The father, arms crossed, muttered, "You're being dramatic." Dramatic, that was the term people loved to throw around when they weren't the ones being disrespected. Tasha held back the words she truly wanted to say. Instead, she installed security cameras, hoping that might send a message. But it didn't. The problem was only escalating. The security cameras functioned for about 2 weeks. Initially, the neighbors backed off. No more footprints, no more wet towels, no more uninvited swimmers. Tasha thought maybe, just maybe, she had made her point. But then, on a scorching Saturday afternoon, she pulled into her driveway and noticed something unusual. Her side gate, the one she always kept locked, was slightly ajar. She stiffened, a bad feeling crept up her spine as she walked around back. And there it was, her yard filled with people, not just kids, but grown adults. Lounge chairs were taken, beer bottles littered the ground, and someone had even set up a folding table with snacks. Her pool was full, and a couple of women were wading waist-deep, chatting as if it were their own backyard. A man leaned against the pool ledge, grinning as he sipped his drink. For a moment, Tasha thought she was losing her mind. Was this real? She took a step forward, scanning the crowd. That's when she locked eyes with one of her neighbors, Sandra, from 3 houses down. Sandra, who had never spoken to Tasha before, waved as if this were some casual gathering. "Hey girl, hope you don't mind," she called out. "It was so hot today, we figured we'd cool off." Tasha's jaw tightened. "Mind?" "Oh, she minded." Her voice emerged sharp and steady. "Every single one of you get out now." Some people froze, while others exchanged glances as if she were overreacting. Sandra scoffed. "Oh, don't be like that. It's just a pool, you weren't even home." Tasha stepped forward, her anger simmering just beneath the surface. "It's not just a pool, it's my pool, my house, my yard. You don't live here, you don't pay for this, so get out, all of you." Someone muttered, "Geez, what's her problem?" That did it. Tasha stormed over to the pool equipment box, grabbed the remote, and shut off the pool filter. Then she yanked the power cord to the speakers, plunging the area into silence. "I'm calling the police," she announced. Now that got them moving. Drinks were snatched up, towels wrapped tightly, and within minutes, her yard was emptied. Sandra, however, had the audacity to roll her eyes on the way out. "You don't have to be so uptight," she muttered. Nobody was hurting anything. Tasha wanted to scream, but instead, she stood stone-faced, watching as they shuffled out as if nothing had happened. She slammed the gate behind them, locked it, and stood there with her hands on her hips, fuming. But she knew one thing for certain, this wasn't over. They had zero respect for her, and if respect wasn't going to stop them, something else would. Tasha had tried everything, talking, reasoning, cameras, locks, none of it worked. Now it was time to get creative. She sat at her kitchen table, staring at the security footage from earlier that day. The nerve of these people, the way they acted so entitled, as if her property was theirs to use whenever they pleased. She wasn't just angry anymore, she was done. If they wanted to keep treating her pool like the neighborhood water park, she was about to ensure their next visit would be their last. First, she made a trip to the hardware store, picking up 2 heavy-duty locks, one for the side gate and one for the pool equipment box. The old locks were sturdy, but these were unbreakable. Next, she went online and ordered a special chemical treatment for her pool, not chlorine, but something stronger. It wasn't dangerous, just a harmless yet highly effective trick used by public pools to expose rule breakers. A little something called pool dye, a harmless chemical that turns the water bright green if someone urinates in it. Yep, if even one of those freeloaders attempted to use her pool again, they'd leave looking like a radioactive alien. But that was just the beginning. Tasha wanted insurance, something that would make them think twice before ever stepping foot in her yard again. So she visited a local sign shop and had a custom pool sign made. The next morning, she drilled it right onto her fence where everyone could see, warning, pool chemically treated for unauthorized use. Exposure may cause rash, severe itching, or temporary skin discoloration. Did it sound a bit extreme? Sure. Was any of it actually true? Nope. But they didn't know that. To sell it further, she placed an empty hazardous chemical container near the pump, something she picked up from a friend who worked in maintenance. Now all she had to do was wait, and it didn't take long. The next hot afternoon, she sat by her window, sipping iced tea, watching. It was quiet for most of the day until she spotted a couple of teenagers walking past her fence. They stopped, read the sign, and one of them whispered something before pointing at the chemical container. Within seconds, they turned right back around and walked away. Tasha smirked. Later that evening, Sandra, the same entitled neighbor from the last pool party, was walking her dog when she noticed the sign. She squinted at it, then pulled out her phone and began typing. Tasha checked Facebook a few minutes later, and there it was, a neighborhood group post that read, "FYI, looks like Tasha put some kind of weird chemical in her pool. Says it causes rashes and skin issues. Not sure how safe that is, just a heads up." The comments rolled in, "OMG, what if it leaks into the ground? That doesn't sound legal. Why does she even care so much? It's just water. Tasha laughed out loud. They were upset not because she was lying, or because they got caught, but because they realized their free ride was over. And if they wanted to test her, they were more than welcome to try. For the first time in months, Tasha finally felt at peace. No more random towels. No more strangers lounging in her yard. No more entitled attitudes. Her plan worked, or at least she thought it did. But then the knock came. It was a Thursday evening when she heard it, sharp, impatient banging on her front door. She set down her drink and peeked through the peephole. There was Sandra, arms crossed and looking furious. Tasha sighed. Here we go. She opened the door, maintaining a calm expression. Yes? Sandra wasted no time. We need to talk. Tasha raised an eyebrow. Do we? Sandra huffed. Look, I don't know what your issue is, but people are saying you put some kind of dangerous chemicals in your pool. Tasha blinked, then smirked. I did, she said smoothly. To keep out uninvited guests. Sandra's jaw clenched. You can't do that. What if a kid touches the water? Tasha folded her arms. A kid who broke into my yard. Sandra faltered. That's not the point. It's exactly the point, Tasha shot back. I told people to stay out, they didn't listen, so I took precautions. Sandra scoffed. You're ridiculous. You don't even have kids. It's just sitting there going to waste. Tasha tilted her head. So because I don't have kids, that means my pool is up for public use? Sandra rolled her eyes. Oh, come on. Don't act like. Tasha cut her off. No, you come on, Sandra. You and the rest of these people have some nerve. You don't pay for my water bill, you don't clean my pool, but you expect to just help yourselves. Sandra's face turned red. Well, if you weren't so unfriendly, maybe people would actually like you. Tasha laughed, a deep, genuine laugh. That's your problem, Sandra. You think being liked means letting people walk all over you. Sandra opened her mouth, closed it, then shook her head in frustration. You know what? Forget it. She turned on her heel. Enjoy being the mean neighbor. Tasha called after her. Enjoy using your own hose this summer. Sandra stomped off, and Tasha shut the door, smiling to herself. They were angry, but they had finally received the message. Just to be sure, she doubled down. The next morning, she added a final touch, a motion-activated sprinkler system along the fence. If anyone tried to sneak in again, they'd get a refreshing cold wake-up call. But the best part? She didn't even have to use it because nobody attempted to enter again. The freeloading days were over. After months of frustration, Tasha had finally reclaimed her peace. The pool was hers again, the backyard was quiet, the entitlement was gone, and the best part? She never even had to call the police because that was never her intention. She wasn't trying to create a scene or make enemies, she simply wanted what was hers to be respected. But here's the reality, some people don't respect boundaries unless they are forced to. Tasha had tried to be nice. She had given warnings, she had even asked politely, and they had ignored her at every turn. But the moment she flipped the script, they backed off. Because at the end of the day, people will take as much as you allow them. It doesn't matter if it's your time, your space, your energy, or even your swimming pool. If you don't set boundaries, someone will walk all over you. So was Tasha petty for what she did? Maybe. But was she wrong? Not even a little. What about you? Have you ever had to stand your ground when people attempted to take advantage of you? Or better yet, how would you have handled this situation? Drop a comment below, and let's discuss. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more. Thanks for watching, and remember, respect is earned, not given.